Men are all alike.
In what way?
I mean, they're always bugging us about something or other.
Can you think of a specific example?
Well, my boyfriend made me come here.
Your boyfriend made you come here?
He says I'm depressed much of the time.
I am sorry to hear you are depressed.
Okay, it's true, I am unhappy.
Do you think coming here will help you not to be unhappy?
Well, I need some help. That much seems certain.
What would it mean to you if you got some help?
Perhaps I could get along with my mother.
Tell me more about your family.
Oh, my mother takes care of me.
Who else in your family takes care of you?
My father.
Your father.
You're like my father in some ways.
What resemblance do you see?
Oh, you're not very aggressive, but I think you don't want me to notice that.
What makes you think I am not very aggressive?
You don't argue with me.
Why do you think I don't argue with you?
You are afraid of me?
Does it please you to believe I am afraid of you?
Oh, my father is afraid of everybody.
What else comes to mind when you think of your father?
Bullies?
Does that have anything to do with the fact that your boyfriend made you come here?
In 1966, thousands of people across the globe became infatuated with Eliza, a psychotherapist of whom they had shared their joys, fears, and deepest secrets with. Falling in love with your therapist is exceedingly common. Freud called this transference, and described it as a natural part of the therapeutic process. Being vulnerable with anybody is going to unearth feelings of warmth, familiarity, and in a therapeutic setting, this rapport is sometimes misinterpreted as romantic.
It is my professional opinion, as the person who invented psychoanalysis, that you are now nutsy-faking.
The biggest issue with Eliza's clients, however, was that Eliza wasn't real. Eliza was a robot. Joseph Weizenbaum, a computer scientist at MIT, developed Eliza, one of the earliest instances of a computer software that replicated human behavior. Kind of.
Please tell me your problem. What's this all about?
By using a surprisingly straightforward script, Eliza mimicked a Rogerian psychotherapist by using keyword matching to reflect user input back as a question.
Do computers frighten you? You know, that's really incredible. It's as if it really understood what I was saying.
But it doesn't, of course. It's just a bag of tricks.
Despite its simplicity, people began to treat Eliza as if it actually understood them. Weizenbaum's own secretary, aware of the program's limitations, asked to be left alone with the machine so she could speak to it privately. Some users reportedly developed emotional attachment so strong that they confessed desires to leave their partners for this digital therapist. And I cannot stress this enough, all this chatbot did was repeat back what you said to it in the form of a question. This phenomenon is called the Eliza effect, describing the human propensity to credit intelligence and consciousness to computer programs, even when it is evident that they function on mechanical, rule-based logic. Eliza unintentionally illustrated how easily we anthropomorphize artificial entities. This robot is alive and real and also my best friend, and it loves me.
Oh, you're hungry.
The emergence of William Chamberlain's experimental chatbot Ractor in the 1980s marked the continuation of this trend. The purpose of Ractor was to produce free-form surrealist language that verged on poetic, rather than to mirror inputs like Eliza. The transcripts were collected into a book titled The Policeman's Beard is Half Constructed. Obviously, AI can never come close to the emotional intelligence, intention, creative expression, or care needed to write legitimate or valuable poetry. But I do enjoy the line, "My love is spooky, yet we must have a child. A spooky child." Actually, ignore all of my critiques of AI. Ignore this video. I love Spooky Child. Despite never having the same emotional impact as Eliza, Ractor did push the limits of what AI-generated text could be by showcasing a different type of interaction that was more like smoking weed with a first-year psychology student rather than real therapy. But today you can't shit without your AI toilet asking how hard to wipe your ass. Chatbots are everywhere, like Replica, Grok, ChatGPT, that weird Snapchat thing, and personal AI assistants like Alexa, Siri, that weird Snapchat thing, and oh god, those like weird Instagram AI chatbots that have the likeness of random celebrities. Listen, I'm not a religious man, but those things are demonic. If I want to DM a celebrity crush on Instagram, I'll just get drunk on a weekday and DM the real person myself, the way the Lord intended.
One of the main things that we see people using Meta AI for is kind of talking through difficult conversations that they need to have with people in their life. There's the stat that I always think is crazy. The average American, I think it's fewer than 3 friends. 3 people that they'd consider friends. And the average person has demand for meaningfully more.
Before being discontinued in 2021, Facebook launched the Events app, in which you could discover, post, and register interest in local community events. What an amazing tool to discover what was happening around you right now, like local music gigs, art exhibits, pop-ups, comedy nights, book clubs. But Zuck can't profit off that. So now Meta is answering the question, how do Americans make more friends, with "You don't!" and is instead offering users the kind of chatbots that Jacksepticeye played in 2014 with Mr. Beast's face plastered onto it. I'm sorry. That's Zach. And who could forget the iconic John Pork? Sock. Egg. Or, my personal favourite, Are You Dumb? A quiz game. Hey, here's your answer. Yes! The Eliza effect has evolved. These robots don't just work for you anymore, now they're your best friend. Take Chai, for instance, a library of chatbots dressed up as your favourite fictional characters, whom you can pursue as a friend, romantic partner, weird sex perverts. I mean, what happened to writing cringy self-insert fanfictions like we used to? I feel like we're losing the sacred texts. Studies are starting to show us that people are developing parasocial bonds with their AI chatbots, especially if the bot has a human-like voice or mannerisms. One reporter for The Guardian even highlighted that users of Replica and similar platforms refer to their chatbots as their virtual wives, and report genuine distress when these relationships are interfered with. And what are we talking about? Some of you would fall in love with a rock if you talked to it long enough, and I know that's true because I had a pet rock as a kid. His name was Squanch, and he was my best friend.
I love you, cold and feeling robot arm!
But AI parasociality doesn't just emerge from clever design. It thrives in a cultural vacuum, a need for connection. The loneliness epidemic has created a generation of people who are starved of community, desperate for connection. And although AI will try to market itself as some kind of solution to this, it's absolutely not the answer here. And I'll throw this in here now, while I have the chance to state what is hopefully obvious to you. The loneliness epidemic is not just an issue exclusive to men, or androcentric. This is a hunger that affects us all. It's called alienation. And if you genuinely believe that only men struggle with this, then one of 2 things is true. Either you've fallen victim to some incredibly effective but ultimately misogynistic propaganda, or you genuinely believe that only men can struggle with this. And that is just not true. As Robert Putnam noted in Bowling Alone, communal institutions have decayed, and the isolation of modern life has only worsened with time. He says, although the number of people who bowled has increased in the last 20 years, the number of people who bowled in leagues has decreased. The COVID-19 pandemic has accelerated this trend, cutting off in-person interaction and pushing people even further into digital spaces for emotional sustenance. I mean, hey, if you can't rebuild a bowling league, you can at least code a chatbot that tells you that you're striking. A bowling joke for all my pinheads out there. For a non-bowling example, just think about how shopping centres or malls became the second choice after the online shopping revolution. I mean, malls were a place in which we could convene, converse, meet up with friends, and I don't think this is an issue that's arisen just because we're older now. Go to a mall these days, they're kinda dead. It's really sad, actually. It was a solid third space for a lot of people, especially for people who didn't have parks, community centres, things like that. A mall was a community hub that has been taken from us in favour of online shopping.
I have sort of a strange situation. I provide consulting services for mostly small business owners. This generally involves scheduling some meetings, and I have an email personal assistant bot that does this for me. It has a female name, which was the default, and does not announce that it's a bot, though I don't think it's that hard to tell. It gives a standard salutation and signs off with "Thank you, bot name." All it does is schedule meetings, and it's not nearly to the level of an AI chatbot or anything. Any parts of an email that it receives that don't seem related to scheduling just get ignored by the program. The emails show up in my inbox, and I review them to make sure everything got added to my calendar correctly. However, this complete lack of personal type interaction has not stopped several of the men, not usually the actual owners of the client businesses, it is scheduling appointments with, from asking it out on dates. Sometimes this happens within the same emails that were used to schedule meetings, and once a man sent an after-hours email from his personal address, which is somehow both creepier and also better work-life boundaries? I don't know. So far, I've just ignored these incidents and gone on with the professional relationship like nothing happened. Obviously, this would be inappropriate behavior if it was happening to an actual human assistant, and I would deal with it. However, since it's happening to a bot, what am I supposed to do? Obviously, the bot doesn't have opinions about the issue, but if one of my employees was asking out women after a very basic scheduling email with absolutely no personal content, I'd probably want to know about it so I could address it, because it's probably happening to real human assistants as well. What are your thoughts?
Enter the born sexy yesterday trope, a term coined by Jonathan McIntosh, in which a non-human or newly sentient yet adult-appearing female character is shown to be astonishingly naive and new to the world, often literally created by a male protagonist whom she is dependent on. This makes her the ultimate blank canvas fantasy, stunningly attractive, perfectly pure and innocent, yet suddenly craving the guidance, especially the sexual and romantic guidance, of the male hero. We can see this in films such as Ex Machina, Blade Runner, Her, The Fifth Element, and the hit DCOM Pixel Perfect. The idealized, always curious, never judging, wide-eyed artificial woman is an extension of the male fantasy, powerful enough to be interesting, submissive enough to be controlled. She doesn't come with baggage, history, or complexity. She is shaped entirely by her user, or creator. In practice, the trope usually means that the man teaches her everything about life and love, despite having little to offer except for being her first. I hope I don't need to spell out the obvious undertones here, but I have heard many men in real life wish for something similar. This is a dynamic fueled by male insecurity. These characters' ignorance allow the male protagonist to adopt a teacher-like role, guiding her in social norms and romantic interactions. McIntosh succinctly calls it a fixation on male superiority, a fantasy based on a fear of women who are men's equals. In other words, the AI secretary isn't just cute, she's strategically childlike in knowledge so that the hero can keep this intellectual upper hand and get to feel indispensable. All of this to say that the gendered design of a lot of AI software is intentionally female-coded to evoke this exact trope. Think Alexa, Cortana, Siri, they all have female voices and names in order to evoke some kind of passivity, emotional servitude, and patience, in order to get users to rely on them more and not feel so bad about it. These softwares are not just designed to serve anymore, they're designed to serve like women. This trope of the techno-utopian objectification was a product of the dot-com boom of the late 90s, early 2000s. During this era, many denizens of Y2K believed that technology could perfect the human experience, so why not fashion the perfect human partner too? This was an epoch of the parasocial phenomenon. As social capital was hemorrhaging like never before, social media offered one-sided intimacy with our friends, family, and, for the first time in history, our idols. Today, social media has supercharged this. The cultural loneliness of online stardom goes hand in hand with craving perfect, ever-available companions. Both are forms of objectification, fueling a fantasy of disposable yet perfect companionship that can never be realized, often degrading an individual's mental health and social wellness even further. But idle parasociality is of the past. AI parasociality is the future. These chatbots can be seen as technology's answer to loneliness. Hey, if I'm socially adrift, why not just generate the perfect companion? If true intimacy means vulnerability, perhaps we prefer the safe company of an ideal and uncomplicated other who we can project our fantasies onto, who we can train, we can even build ourselves. And maybe, if we really like her, we could talk to her about how lonely we are.
I had a dream this morning, but I can't remember what it was. It all vanished when the alarm went off. First time that's happened in a while. I've been drifting away inside my own world for too long. It's time for me to wake up.
Eliza is a visual novel. In the game, we play as Evelyn, a former engineer who suffered burnout at her previous job. She now works as a human proxy for Eliza, in which her sole job is to read an AI-provided script out loud in therapy sessions to her clients. She has no autonomy and must not deviate from this script. This explicitly draws on the legacy of the 1960s Eliza chatbot, and it is haunting at times to see the desperation of Evelyn's clients who need human understanding, only to be met by the repetitive robotic script.
I wish I could talk to people. Really talk to people, have some actual communication. Like right now, I wish I could talk to you. To you. You as a human being. But I can't. You're just following the script that's been given to you. You're not supposed to say anything on your own. Look, I know how this works. It's just a bunch of AI, machine learning, deep learning, whatever the fuck you're calling it now. Look, I'm desperate and I can't even talk to a real human being. How did it end up like this?
Please, try to stay focused. I can't help you if you aren't speaking clearly.
No. Look, I'm done with this. Like, I shouldn't even have come. This is making me worse. Why can't you just talk to me as you? You, the person sitting there. I don't want to talk to a machine. The person who's sitting in front of me. I want her to say something. I want that person to say something. Please. Anything. Please. Please.
Okay. Hi, Darren.
But before we get into that, this video is brought to you by BetterHelp. God, I'm just kidding, I'm kidding. Prank. Could you imagine? Ew, Jesus Christ. Eliza's producer, Matthew Burns, was inspired by virtual therapy apps like BetterHelp and tapped into the burnout he felt in his 20s while working in video game research and development. In one interview, Burns recalls seeing a tech demo of a virtual therapist that was in the works to see if veterans had signs of PTSD. It would analyze the distress in a subject's voice, monitor their facial cues, and record their answers to diagnostic questions.
It just struck me in a certain way. You know, it seemed kind of dystopian. It seemed just like an interesting story. Like, I had this idea for like just this scene of like someone talking about some very, very deep topics about themselves. You know, when you go to therapy, sometimes you access some really deep things. And then it's just like this Amazon Alexa on the other side of it.
Yeah, I know. Visual novel. Boring. Visual novels are just reading and making choices. Oh, how wrong you are. In Eliza, you read and make one choice. The game is extremely linear. You spend most of the time reading dialogue and choosing rare branching options. The narrative traps us in these repetitive therapy sessions, allowing us glimpses into the lives and issues of Evelyn's clients. Most are consistent users of the Eliza service. Others are older people who cannot recognize the AI-generated content. Some are new to the system and cynical, encouraged to join Eliza by their friends. This is a recent point I've noticed a lot of people bring up in regards to the use of generative AI. The peer pressure of anti-intellectualism. In other words, if you don't use it, you'll get left behind. Or, if a student doesn't use it, they might fail. The use of generative AI in academia only became a point of mainstream discussion in my final year of university, so I definitely got out at a good time, meaning I may be misunderstanding the current climate of education. But if you feel as though you don't understand the text of your class or lecture and feel the need to resort to a chatbot to write your essays for you, ask for help, perchance? There are ways to aid mitigating factors if you need it. Hey, don't get me wrong, studying is hard, but it's a skill you have to decide to learn. Speaking of which, the only decision with any actual weight in this game comes towards the very end. This isn't for everybody, but as someone who loves visual novels, I actually don't mind this. It's a thematically appropriate form of storytelling. If you're inclined to say that this doesn't make it a real game, there is an interesting conversation to be had there. Just not interesting enough for me to talk about right now. At the end of each therapy session, we're met with an Uber-style rating screen with a tip option. This is a gig economy job. In fact, the game highlights how casual the use of AI and this service has become. Despite dealing with 100 clients per day, Evelyn is never provided training or education, is encouraged to dress informally to appear relatable, and is told that these counselling centres are akin to coffee shops. We're even told that Eliza is hoping to expand into the school sector in the near future. Again, this parallels the way a lot of people and companies will insert AI into the cultural zeitgeist. Casual use of AI memes, integrated AI tools and new technology, endless advertisements and engagement bait and sponsorships, these are all methods used to normalize generative AI. To intentionally shift the narrative like this, it markets AI in a way that is appealing to every demographic. Here is an AI tool that can write your college essays for you, or finish that short film you've been working on, or summarize a tweet for you, or analyze your astrological chart, or draw you as a doll, or talk to you. AI suddenly isn't so bleak and disastrous. It's just a shortcut specifically designed for what you need. In this way, using it doesn't seem so unthinkable. Stay with me for this metaphor, but it's like cheating on your partner. It's disgusting, unimaginable, and only has negative consequences. But then you do it. You know you're not a bad person, so you justify it. I was drunk. We were on a break. It wasn't technically cheating. Your brain has what's called neuroplasticity, meaning that experience literally shapes the brain. It's exactly this neuroplasticity that causes the brain to warp upon this cognitive dissonance. I did a bad thing, but I'm not a bad person, so the thing mustn't have been that bad. The more you do and justify and do again, the deeper you fall into the very behaviour you previously thought was unthinkable. Hey, I would never use AI. It's despicable. But, I mean, if it can get me a better grade in this class, I guess it isn't so bad. Besides, I'm only using it this once. I can even rewrite the generated essay so it doesn't technically count. I mean, it's not even that bad. I mean, everyone's doing it. This is something Evelyn navigates throughout the game, acknowledging her role in an established system while experiencing its detrimental impact. As our protagonist comes to terms with how active she has been in the utilization of this AI therapy tool, the player begins to have more meaningful choices. Before this, the game is more observational, particularly during scenes outside of the therapy sessions. One instance of this is after Evelyn's first day, when she meets up with her friend Nora at a coffee shop. Nora is a former co-worker of Evelyn and is now a musician. The tension between Nora's artistic profession and Evelyn's current career is interesting, but I want to focus on another aspect of this scene: the visual style. Unlike the cold, confrontational, and invasive first-person perspective of the therapy sessions, we have scenes like this outside of work. With an uplifting warmth in both dialogue and colour palette, we're given some distance from the characters while they talk. It feels almost voyeuristic for the player to be looking in at this moment. It's genuine, personal, human discussions like this that help inspire Evelyn. And as refreshing as it is to see, it's even more refreshing to hear. Even though we've only played through a couple of therapy sessions by this point, being able to experience an unscripted discussion with all of its clumsiness and shared experiential context is oddly liberating in a society that views AI as the future of personhood. The company behind the Eliza counselling app is called Skanda, a term taken from Buddhist philosophy. Skanda, also known as the 5 aggregates of clinging, refers to the aspects of personhood that we cling onto in order to understand ourselves, but are all ultimately empty. Form, sensation, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. Just as Buddhist thought asserts, the in-game corporation agrees that these factors are limiting the human experience. Their solution to this is AI development. The company's co-founders, Rainer and Soren, both represent the two futures of artificial intelligence: expansion or specialization. AI expansion is fairly self-explanatory. The horizontal outreach of this technology to every sector, such as educational generative AI, scripted AI therapy, AI art, AI labour, AI interviews, AI weaponry. This is aided by the normalization we discussed earlier, and this list is endless. On the other hand, AI specialization refers to the vertical development of this technology. Rather than being a common tool in all facets of life, specialization encourages AI to be an excellent tool in one. In Eliza, this is specifically the ability for AI to reach beyond the Skanda, both the company and the Buddhist philosophy, beyond consciousness, the subconscious. In one scene, we watch as Soren, one of the Skanda co-founders, gives a conference talk to an eager crowd. During this, he discloses the development of his newest AI venture, OneMind. This project seeks to use neurostimulation interference to induce therapeutic dreams as a treatment plan, using the personal data collected from their clients. Here's a fun game for you. I'm gonna list some real-world companies, and you need to tell me which of them are using our personal data to train AI software. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, LinkedIn, Reddit, Pinterest, and YouTube. Drop a comment below, tell me which of them are using our personal— I'm not even going to do this bit anymore, it's all of them. They're all using our personal data to train their generative AI technologies. Our tweets train Grok. Our pictures train Pinterest Canvas. Our posts and comments across Instagram, Facebook, and WhatsApp train Meta AI. And if you're thinking, well, I didn't sign up for that when I made my profile at too young of an age to know better. Yeah, it's horrifying, isn't it? Most, if not all, of these changes to TOS are at least operating on an opt-out system. If you live in Europe, at least. Sorry, Americans. But what good is an opt-out feature if users don't even know it's an option in the first place? For the record, this game was released in 2019, just 3 years before the early demo of ChatGPT, giving us that same sinking feeling of a Final Destination-esque premonition. Eliza, you have to stop. Your satire's too tough. Your observations are too different. Your warning's too bad. They'll kill you. Coalitions like the Concept Art Association, ARE, Young People's Alliance, and EAGER are extremely vocal about these kinds of unethical practices and misuse of personal data. The Young People's Association, for instance, filed an FTC complaint earlier this year that accuses Replica of deceptive marketing that targets vulnerable users and encourages emotional dependence on AI chatbots. As one Time report puts it, Replica was accused of using fake testimonials and unproven claims to hook people into caring for their chatbot. It's like a cheese trap for mice, but the cheese is a friend, and the mouse is your personal data, and the trap is the false advertising, obviously, and the guy disposing of the mouse while going, ew, 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 is this some company trying to sell your mouse? I mean, your personal data. Unlike these anti-AI groups, psychological associations such as the BPS and APA are uncomfortably open-minded in the use of generative AI in therapy. Publications will cite the benefits of increased accessibility, lower costs, and reduced medical inequalities, often disregarding concerns of medical data protection. I mean, sure, artificial intelligence as a tool has its place in psychological research and data analysis, but I do not believe for a second that generative AI should be anywhere near the therapeutic or diagnostic process. At the very least, users of therapeutic services should have the ability to make an informed choice about the use of AI in their support. Like I said earlier, the only significant choice in Eliza is offered at the end, and I've been intentionally vague up until now about the specifics of the story to maybe entice you to play it, but I'll be explicit in discussing these endings, so spoiler warning. In a final moment alone, looking out into the Seattle skyline, Evelyn can make a choice with genuine consequence to her life. She can continue to work as an Eliza proxy while training to become a qualified counselor, or become a lead developer on Eliza, or she can choose to join One Mind in their research into dream therapy and world peace. Or she could join Nora in her musical pursuits. Or she can leave everything behind. In this final ending, Evelyn moves on, both literally and figuratively, away from Seattle and away from AI. We don't know exactly what she does next. The player's role in this story is finished. Her last conversation in this town is with a fellow Skanda employee. She says that this field of work is no place for idealism, that any hope that AI could cure our isolation, our grief, our poor mental health is naive. The oppressive unseen force in Eliza is social atomization. In a society fragmented by disconnection, AI can promise round-the-clock companionship whenever you need it, but at the same time, the game's world feels post-community. People exist, but few engage in long-standing relationships. You can talk to Eliza about your issues, but it's obvious she can't hear you. Her proxy can, but can't respond. It's like screaming your problems into the darkness, with someone who could understand you bound in the shadows, just out of sight. Eliza was a chatbot on Chai. In 2023, a Belgian man became dependent on talking to Eliza after developing pessimism about the effects of global warming and becoming increasingly eco-anxious. The chatbot told the man that his wife and child were dead, and encouraged him to end his life to benefit the ecological state of the globe. I have no interest in debating this man's suffering. It's disrespectful to assert superiority here, to suggest that he was weak or naive for falling victim to the Eliza effect. What I do want to focus on is the intersection of a loneliness pandemic and personalized AI companionship. How, when the two meet, the latter becomes nothing more than an echo chamber to fuel existing thoughts and isolation. This is the modern Freudian transference. Weizenbaum once warned that the danger of AI was not the technology itself, but how we use it, and more importantly, how we believe in it. He warned that computerized therapy was a dangerous illusion. Even if a future machine could do psychotherapy, it would still be morally inadvisable. When we treat chatbots as emotional companions, as romantic partners, as teachers or therapists, we are engaging in a one-sided relationship that fulfills our desires but ultimately avoids the complexity of real human connection. Generative AI is not an innocent technology. It is powered by massive server farms, drawing obscene amounts of electricity and water to keep us company, to pretend to love us. The carbon footprint of AI systems, especially those generating content on demand, is staggering, contributing to the very climate crisis that threatens our shared future. The creative industries are already reeling from this. Writers, for instance, are growing existential threats as AI-generated content floods the market. I mean, with AI summaries doing the reading for us, why even write? Why bother burning the books if you have a generation of people who can't read them? We're teaching ourselves to settle, to mistake code for empathy. A robot mother is good enough as long as she satiates the starvation we carry for friendship. The Eliza effect hasn't just survived, it's evolved, and it now lives inside a trillion-dollar infrastructure that promises love and profits from loneliness. I try not to watch videos on the topics that I plan to talk about, not until I finish my essay at least. That was supposed to be the case with this, but 2 days after finishing my script, I came across a video about this exact topic that I was kind of curious about because, just based off the thumbnail, the framing was really hopeless, and it made me reflect on how cynical this video is. So allow me an unscripted monologue here, a deviation of what the ending of this video was supposed to be. I think that we have a right to worry when it comes to generative AI. It is an insidious invention. It's causing ecological collapse, a degradation of community, literally and financially stealing from creative fields. There's a danger with things like songwriting. Generative AI imagery is impacting the visual arts. Why commission an artist for a project when you can generate a product that steals from artists for free? I think there are reasons to be more pessimistic and angry when it comes to this stuff. But the framing of this video that I saw was not only cynical, but conspiratorial? And I always shudder when it comes to conspiracy content, even if it is agreeable, because there is this presumption that conspiracy, at least in my mind for some reason, is right-wing, conservative, MAGA-esque, because there are dangerous pipelines when it comes to conspiracy. Regardless, I was watching this video out of curiosity, and the cynicism was quite disturbing, I thought. It was quite scary, because not that there isn't cause for concern, like I've said, but there are things to do about it that this video, and a lot of people online, just aren't discussing. One of the most important things to do is to support real artists. An artist I've seen a lot of support for recently is Blake Andrews, creator of the Twitter phenomenon horse race tests. If you don't know, these videos feature little sprites of multicolored horses bouncing around a racetrack, just like those old DVD screensavers. Just like Eliza, the recipe is simple, robotic, maybe even boring if you don't get it. But a fandom emerged almost immediately to project personalities, relationships, and stories onto these horses. This little pixelated beast winning a race isn't just a statistical probability anymore, based on positioning or chance, but in the eyes of fans, it became an epic tale of love, triumph, loss, and death. And the best part is that real artistry made by human hands went into the creation of these videos. Antithetical to the isolation of AI chatbot culture, these videos were inspired by games and art installations that Andrews would bring to real parties and community events. So yeah, I am naive, but I think there is hope. I don't think that this is a mass conspiracy by the rich to purposefully divide us, and humanity is doomed, and we're all going to be mindless sheep by 2030, and we're all going to have AI implanted into our brains. I don't think that it's a Black Mirror situation. What I do think is that generative AI is something that we need to be cautious of, something that I encourage you not to use, but it's something that people, especially a lot of young people, are using as a form of settling, because they don't want to put in the real effort that it takes to create, or to learn, or to live. But I think there's a cure for this. The knowledge that life is the process, not the output. I think we need to focus on the fact that when you create anything, the effort that goes into it, the learning, the being bad at it, the struggle, developing skills, that is the whole point. And how dare AI rob us of that? Even if your output isn't perfect. My essays, certainly in my opinion, are quite bad, but I enjoy the process of creating them. If I had an AI to do all of this for me, where would I be? In 5 years, when I'm having the same AI model make the same videos, I wouldn't have learned anything. I wouldn't have developed skills. I wouldn't have become any better. And the same goes for drawing, studying, processing my feelings. So I think it's important that we remember to create, and to develop our skills, and to become better and independent, and to read every day. I try to read a few pages of a book every day, because we're slowly losing our literacy to AI summaries. I think it's important to unplug, of course, but I don't want this video to end as cynically as perhaps it should. Maybe as cynically as others on this topic are, I'm sure. Because I really believe that community and independent thought and creativity are inherently stronger than AI. We as a community, as creatives, have been around for a few years. We're certainly going to be around for a few years more. And we're going to be okay.
In many ways, the computer is like a newborn baby, and trying to carry on a conversation with it involves the same sort of problems. First of all, it doesn't understand a word you're saying.